Hi guys, and again we are joined by Dan,
Oh yeah,
and today we're going to be discussing Aston Villa and the current situation that they find themselves in. And obviously Dan's going to be doing much of the talking on this one because I don't really know that much about Aston Villa, so I don't support them, but I can try and do my best to ask him good questions, and I'm sure he'll do his best to answer them as well. So, Dan, the main topic, or we'll start with the main topic, shall we? Of Remy Gard, he's been questioned that he'd be getting sacked in the next 40 hours or anything. Your take on that?
yeah. I think he definitely won't be there next year. Obviously, they were going to do a review of the season the next couple of days, and then they were going to get him in to talk to him. He hasn't worked, has he? He hasn't worked at all. He's not a Premier League manager. He hasn't adapted at all, and he's struggling, isn't he? So I'll be surprised if they sack him. I wouldn't be surprised if they sack him, should I say? Whether he goes now or at the end of the season, he'll definitely be gone because he ain't suited for championship manager. We need somebody who's good at been in that league before and who's done it before. He hasn't got a clue. He needs to, go back. He's come over. He's tried, but he's just not good enough, I'm afraid. And the results have probably been worse since he's taken over rather than better. I'd have rather just kept Sherwood. In hindsight, we should have just kept him really.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously, Sherwood had been at Tottenham before, hadn't he? So he's obviously had Premier League experience. I didn't quite understand the move of going for Remy Gard because, like, he had, like you said, he had no Premier League experience. You were desperate need of getting points and getting, your team back on the side, and then you bring in an unexperienced manager. I didn't quite understand that at all.
Yeah, I mean, David Moyes was available at the time. Brendan Rodgers had just recently been sacked by Liverpool, so he was available at the time.
Mm.
So there was English managers who'd managed in the Premier League available and could have possibly got us out of the mess that we find ourselves in. They've brought him in. He hasn't adapted. The reason I think they brought him in because of the French players that we had. We signed a lot of French players in the summer from the French league, which he'd managed in. So I'm guessing their idea was the thought process was that he would come in, he'd worked with those type of players before and would be able to get the best out of them. But it just hasn't worked. The players aren't good enough, and the manager's just not good enough either.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that because there's something going to be seriously wrong because I think since Martin O'Neill's left, I think you've had five managers, is it?
Yeah.
You had Gerard, I think you had Gerard Houllier,
Yeah. McLeish.
Alex McLeish. Yeah, you had Alex McLeish. That was again, I don't think that was the best move, considering
Nah. Nah. And
um,
we've got Paul Lambert,
Paul Lambert as well. Yeah,
and then we've had Sherwood, and then Remy Gard.
so you can argue really, you've not really been the same since Martin O'Neill left, really.
No, no, they've never recovered from him leaving. Never ever recovered from him leaving, and that's a lot. A lot of that's down to Learn. He pulled the plug on the money. That's why Martin O'Neill decided to go. He left because the money wasn't going to be there. They were selling the best players. They just sold James Milner, or was in the process of just selling James Milner to Manchester City, and it was the start of the things to come. They had a lot of good players that have been sold on and have never been replaced, or have been replaced with lower quality players, and we've just never recovered from that.
Why do you think Randy Lerner didn't want to invest any more money? I mean, when Martin O'Neill was there, there was a time that you were actually in the top four. I think it was.
Yeah, we had a good chance to get in the top four the one year, and he changed the tactics halfway through the season. They signed Heskey, and he changed the tactics to incorporate Heskey, and they didn't play well for the rest of that season. But the rumour was with Randy Lerner that he'd just got divorced from his wife, and he'd lost half of his money. He had to give half of his money to his wife, and then he was a bit more reluctant then to put any more money into the club, and he sort of fell out of love with the club really. I think he did the same with his American club that he owned. He owned some sort of club over there, and it was the same sort of thing. He just pulled the plug on all the money and just didn't really want to invest anymore. Wasn't seeing any profit coming back off it, which you don't really with a football club. And he just pulled the plug. He lost half his assets, and he just decided to pull the plug.
Which is obviously a shame on like people's behalf because people are paying good money to go and watch Villa. They have six,
Yeah, yeah.
and when you get results like when you lost 6-0 to Liverpool the other week, I mean, I don't want to be harsh with words, but that was a fucking disgrace.
It was an absolute disgrace, and to be honest, Liverpool didn't even get out of second gear. Really, they didn't play particularly well. They didn't do anything particularly brilliant. It was just Villa were absolutely shocking. And as I say, Liverpool, if they could have put the pressure on, might have scored 8 or 9 or 10. It was just that bad. It was just, and it's just like you said, it's sorry for the fans. They've got a cracking support. They always sell out the away. I mean, they've sold out Man U. You know, we're going to Man U in a few weeks. That's been sold out, so there's cracking support there. Even though we're bottom of the league, we're going down. The support is there, but again, we've just had bad managers and bad investment in the club over the last 5 years, really.
So you'd put it down to investment rather than I don't know, poor management, or
It's a bit of both, really. The investment's not been there. The players that have been sold on, we haven't replaced them. And then, because obviously the owner didn't want to put the money in, they've tried to do it on a budget, and it hasn't worked, has it? And the players that we've brought in have not been good enough. You could argue the managers haven't really been good enough either, but a lot of it is down to a lot to do with the players, really, as well, because they're not good enough.
yeah. I mean, like you say, you didn't want to invest, but I think people like James Milner could have easily been replaced by somebody else if you offer the right price.
Oh, of course they could have. Yeah, of course they could have. We had Ashley Young, we had Downing, we had Barry. You know, we had a good side, and it's a shame, isn't it? Because they did have the makings to a good side. They could have pushed on. At that time, they were level with Spurs. At that time, 5 years ago, when we had those players, they were level with Spurs. At that time, they were challenging Spurs for fourth. Spurs have carried on spending the money, carried on investing. Look where they are now. We were probably better than probably had a better side than Spurs at the time, and we were matching them, and we were probably playing better than them at the time. And you know, Spurs have gone one way, we've gone the other, and look what's happened. Spurs are now challenging for the title, and we're going down.
You also had a League Cup final against Manchester United. Do you remember that one?
Yes. Well, dodgy penalty decision. Well, dodgy decision not to send off Vidic. We had that penalty, but
I mean,
again,
anyone with a brain would tell you that any other team, would have seen straight red. But sorry to Man U fans, but because it was Man U and because Alex Ferguson was in charge at the time, then there was no chance in hell that Vidic was going to get sent off.
Yeah. He goes down to 10 men to score the penalty. It's a different game, then, isn't it? Completely, but it's just one of them, isn't it?
I'm going to take to Twitter.
Okay.
A very passionate Aston Villa fan has a season ticket. Is getting fed up of this now. And she's come out and said, "See if you can answer this question for us." Between Tom Fox and Randy Lerner, they've ripped the heart of every Villa fan and stomped all over it in dyeing it dollar green. But every single player needs to cut and give youths a chance to shine until they can learn what it means to play for the badge, or maybe even the manager should show some passion at some point with the players and show a bit of fight. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I agree. Lerner and Fox, they ain't interested. They've pulled the plug. They want to sell the club. They wanted, he wanted 250 million for the club. Nobody was going to come in for them at 250 million. He wanted 150 million for them last year. Nobody wanted to come in for him. Now he's trying to sell them for 100 million, but I doubt you'll probably even get that for them now because they're going down. They're not going to be worth as much. If you just sold them for 100 million in the summer, then somebody could have come in and invested some money in the club, and we could have got some better players in. I agree with what the Twitter user said there about the players. There's no passion there with the players. They don't give a crap. They ain't interested at all. They're just coming for the money, and they don't care. The whole players that they've got, they don't care anymore. And she's right. The manager doesn't show any passion. So why would the players show the passion? At least Sherwood, he did show a bit of passion, and he did show a bit, but he wasn't the best manager in the world, but at least he sort of, he would get the players up for it and stuff like that. He'd show a bit of passion. He did well. He got us to that FA Cup final. He did well. He kept us up, and he deserved more of a chance. Really, it wasn't his fault. He didn't buy the players. He was just given the players to work with, and it's proved it. Another manager's come in and there's exactly the same effect. It's not got the results have probably got worse, as I said earlier. They probably haven't got better. They've actually got worse. So they should have just kept Sherwood. At least he'd have got them fired up, and hopefully they would have showed a little bit of passion. But the manager's not interested, and so why should the players be interested? Until they get rid of the manager and get rid of some of these players, get some proper Championship players in, get us out of this league as soon as we possibly can, and get us back up.
It's going to be hard to obviously get for Randy Lerner to sell now, because obviously you're going to be a Championship club.
Yeah, definitely.
And okay, I don't really want to make this video about Arsenal because it's about Villa, but I think you're in the same position as Arsenal. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's not just a problem. It's not just a problem with the manager. I mean, you could buy, or say buy, but you could invest in, like, say, 14 managers, but until you've got a board that actually gives a crap, I don't think that you're going to see any change at all.
No, you're right. You're right. You're not exactly. You need a board in there who's passionate about the club and wants to set the club further. And without getting with it, while he's still there, we ain't going to move forward as a club at all. He needs to go.
From the same user as well. She also asked you the question. But at the moment, I know it's going to be a hard pick, but what would your starting lineup be? She says that hers would be Gunn, Richards, Zach Sissoko, Hutton, Clark, Vera, Garner, Grealish, Gill, Gabby, and Linden. And whether I think we've touched upon that, but she's asked as well, do you think Guard will be there in the summer? And we said no to that.
No, Guard won't be there in the summer. The lineup, I agree with. I wouldn't play Gabby. I'd play the AU instead of Gabby. To be honest, I'd drop Gabby. He's been there 10 years. He ain't good enough anymore. I'd definitely drop Gabby and put AU in. He's a little bit better. Definitely, but the rest of the lineup, I agree. But most of them players aren't good enough for the Championship, let alone the Premiership. So a lot of them players I'd want to just get rid of, definitely, and start again. The defence is awful, the midfield's awful, and the strikers ain't done nothing. So it just tells its own story, doesn't it?
I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses for Villa because obviously, three wins out of how many games is not acceptable. But is it the formation? Have you tried to change the formation? I mean, I watched them against Swansea the other day, and I actually thought for the majority of the game, Aston Villa were the better side, to be honest.
Yeah, first half they were. They don't take the chances, do they? What it is, they've brought these French players in. It's not their fault, but they're used to playing like in the top league in France. They were playing for like top clubs in France. They're never going to get relegated. These players don't know what it's like to have a relegation battle. They weren't adapted to the Premier League. It takes time to adapt to the Premier League. It's a fast league. It's a hard league. And buying so many players not from that league, not from the Premiership, who are proven Premiership players, they're never going to adapt, are they? It's always going to be difficult to adapt. And that's what it is, the bottom line. The players that they've got just haven't adapted to the league. And it's been too much of a culture shock for them. And by the time that they've tried to do anything about it, it's already too late by then.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I don't see any experience in that Aston Villa side at all whatsoever. I don't really see no passion or heart in your midfield.
No.
And again, like, the fans are doing their bit. You can't deny that the fans aren't doing their bit. They are paying some good fucking money. And they're using that money to go and support the club on the weekends. But as you said yourself, the fans deserve better. I mean, I think something needs to be seriously done. You need a passionate manager that's going to roar into these players, motivate the players. I've said it about Arsenal before as well. You need a manager that can motivate players and get the players back up. I mean, okay, I'm not comparing FIFA, but me and you have played FIFA before, and like you said, when you lose like 3 games on the bounce and that, you just lose interest and you drain. And I think that's what's happened at Aston Villa. I think because you're trying so hard, but because you're not getting any results, and I think the players have just kind of said, "Fuck this! Like, I've had enough."
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, they've given up a long time ago. They haven't won for a long time. I think the players have just. It's inevitable. We haven't got the R next to us on the league yet. We're not officially relegated, but in all intensive purposes, we are down, and all the players know that. They don't really care. They're still getting paid. Most of them are probably not going to be there in the summer anyway. So they're just not bothered, are they? They're not playing for the club. They don't care about the club, which is like a crying shame, isn't it, really? Because, they have got a couple of okay players there, and they got the makings of a little bit of a decent side, but I don't know.
We have another question here. I think he's taking the piss a bit. I don't think he's an Arsenal fan. Sorry, a Villa fan. He comes out and he says, "What if Aston Villa actually did this great escape and ended up doing the Leicester City and winning the league next season?"
I'd absolutely love that. I would absolutely love that. But Leicester had the start. Nigel Pearson bought some good players in January. We didn't buy anybody in January, and he changed the formation. And they had a good defence, didn't they? They had a good solid defence to build on, and they weren't conceding. They weren't getting battered every game. Where they were losing a lot of games, but they weren't getting battered, and they were always in a game and losing 2-1, 3-1, 3-2. They were never out of a game where the Villa are just getting hammered every week, or they're never in the game. At Leicester were actually were never out of games, and as I say, they had a good solid defence to work on. They bought some additions in the January, and they kicked on really, really well. And we haven't done that. If we ever got out of it, it would be an absolute miracle. And I'd bite your hand off if someone said we'd get out of it, but it ain't going to happen. Not going to happen at all.
No, I just want to read your last 7 remaining fixtures and see how many points that you think you'll get. So where are we? You've just played Swansea. So you then have Chelsea at home. I think that's
yeah. We ain't going to get nothing of that.
Then you have Bournemouth at home.
A point.
Manchester United away.
Nothing.
Then you have Southampton at home.
Nothing.
Then you have Watford away.
Nothing.
You have Newcastle at home.
A point.
Yeah, I think by then you're probably gone then anyway.
Exactly. It'd be too late by then. The Man U game, I think the Man U game will be the one where that'll get the relegation confirmed. They'll lose to Chelsea. They may get something in the next game against Bournemouth or wherever it was, and then the Man U game will then they'll lose that one, and that'll confirm their relegation then. And then they play with the shackles off. There's no pressure on. They may get some results, but it ain't going to make a difference, is it?
Well, my question is, will you still talk to me if Arsenal need to win the title at the last game of the season, and Aston Villa need just a point or 3 points to stay up?
It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. The Villa won't be in that position in the last game of the season. If Arsenal need the win, then they can have the win. Villa can just give it to them. They can just give them the win. There'll be no pressure. There'll be nothing from us to try and fight for. So you can have the win there and then.
I think Leicester and Tottenham might have a bit of sound that.
Yeah, probably.
You just roll over and let Arsenal lose. But to be honest with you, when you said there'd be nothing to play for by the time we play each other, I don't think Arsenal have nothing to play for. To be honest.
Yeah, it could end up just being an absolute nothing game, just a little bit of a kickabout, and nobody's really interested in anything. Villa are already down, Arsenal or wherever they are, and they're not going to move, and that's probably about it, isn't it, really? So that'll probably be one of them nothing games.
I mean, you look at, I wouldn't say that Sunderland are much better, but they seem to have, they got a bargain in Defoe. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's the thing. You look at Defoe, he's a proven Premier League striker, isn't he? And he scored goals at that level year in, year out. We had the chance to sign Charlie Aston, and we never signed him. We could have signed him for 15 million, and for whatever reason, the club didn't want to buy him. He'd scored 20 plus goals in the Premier League the year before, and we never bought him, which was silly, really. Nobody else bought him, but neither did we. He'd have scored 10 or 15 goals for us, and you never know. Those games that we were losing 1-0, we might have won them 2-1 or got some points, and you never know, but it's too late. But it's too late now, isn't it?
The only thing that you can look forward to at the moment is the Burnley and Villa derby next year to go into the Champions.
Yeah, there'll be a few derbies. The Blues, Coventry, there'll be a few Forest derby. There'll be a few derbies.
Yeah.
So,
the main one will be Birmingham.
Oh yeah, Wolves maybe. So.
I mean, I'm just going to be honest, because I'm honest with words. I think if you don't, I don't think that Lerner will invest. Obviously, because you're still going to be stuck with Lerner. Obviously, I think at best, I think maybe 13th next year, but maybe, I don't know. Like Jamie Carragher said a couple of weeks ago, if you do keep the players that you've got now, you could be looking at League One.
Yeah, definitely. It happened to Wolves, didn't it? They got relegated from the Premier League and they got relegated again to League One. It's not, it's not a guarantee, is it? And you're right. I think if they do keep them players, then the Championship is a hard league. You get roughed up there, and some of these players won't like it, and they get kicked at the start of the game, and they won't go back and touch them then. And it's not an easy league. You look at the teams that have come down there, and it's hard to get back up. You can't. There's no guarantee you're going to go straight back up.
Mm.
There's a lot of Premiership teams up there that are now going to get relegated to League One. Bolton, Fulham were down there, Charlton, Brighton, Derby, Blues, Wolves, Middlesbrough. There's lots and lots of teams that have been in the Premier League and then they can't get back up. Leeds went down to League One, didn't they?
Charlton's been there as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you obviously you know a lot more than me, and obviously you watch the Villa a lot more than me. But the first game of the season, I mean, I think you bought Justed. I think I pronounced.
Yeah.
I mean, you bought Justed, you bought Ayew, and when you won at Bournemouth, I thought, oh, you know what? I think Villa's going to be different this year. They brought in Sherwood. I thought. I actually tipped you, if you remember, at the start of the season. I actually texted you and I went, I think Villa could get in the European spot this year. Oh God, how wrong I was.
Yeah, it's gone completely wrong, and I think that result was more down to Bournemouth having a bit of nerves the first time in the Premier League. All their fans, it was at home. I think it was more down to Bournemouth being a bit nervous and probably Villa playing that well. Yeah, they got the result and they just never kicked on from it, did they? And it's been downhill since then. Yeah, they beat Norwich and they beat Palace, but it's not good enough. 3 wins out of 31 games is just atrocious, and it's no good at all, is it? It's embarrassing.
Well, to be fair, mate, it actually just sums up the like from the board to the players that just don't give a toss.
No, you're right. You're right. 16 points from 31 games is just an absolute disgrace from top to bottom, isn't it, really?
Yeah. I just get confused like with the boards nowadays and football manager. Do people not realise? I'm going to go on a rant now. I don't even support fucking Aston Villa, but do people not realise how much of a big club? I think they're the 5th biggest club in England. Aston Villa. You've won the Champions League. You've won FA Cups, League Cups. I think it's 5 League Cups, is it? As I said, you could have been in the top 4 a couple of years ago. I mean, do people not realise like these? Well, obviously I don't. They're foreigners, so obviously they don't. But people have got to start realising the reputations of these football clubs, and they're putting the clubs to shame. These clueless managers and clueless boards that haven't got a fucking Scooby. You know what I mean? It's
yeah, you're right. Like you said, we've won league titles, we've won Champions League, a Champions League and League Cups, FA Cups, all this sort of stuff. And like you said, we are one of the the top clubs in England. For trophies, like you said, like probably the 5th or the 6th most decorated club in England, and that's all going to disappear now, isn't it? That reputation is now gone down the toilet. At least the Villa had a bit of a reputation. With all that reputation will now go, and we could just end up being stuck in the Championship or worse for the next 4 or 5 years or something. You could never see us in the Premier League for the next 5 or 6 years. You just don't know. You just don't know.
Isn't it a bit ironic that both Aston Villa and Arsenal are owned by Americans, and that both our clubs have just gone down the pan? It does tell you something, doesn't it, really? But my thinking, if I was Lerner, me personally, when I bought the club, obviously he spent big. You bought Martin O'Neill. You were top 4 around October. I think you finished 6th or something that year. Okay, if I wanted to sell the club, I would have been looking at it saying like, okay, we finished 6th this year. Let me invest a little bit more into the club. Let me take you one step further of getting into a top 4 club, and then I will get big buyers buying this club. Then I would have sold easily. Aston Villa, Randy Lerner would have sold easily if you'd have been not just a top 4, but if you'd have been a European club.
Yeah, of course they would have. Of course they would have. Somebody to come in for it. And as I say, I'll go back to like comparing it to what happened with Spurs. Exactly. Spurs have invested big money over the years. Yes, I know they had Bale and they sold him for a lot of money, but they've still invested big in the club, and they've signed some good players. And we could have been that. That could have been us. We were there. We had the chance, and whatever reason he pulled out, whether it is because he lost his money or whatever, I don't know. But he bottled it really, didn't he? And then he pulled the plug on it all, and they've dropped like a stone since. They've been fighting relegation since, you know, Martin O'Neill left, Gerard Houllier. They were fighting McLeish. They were fighting Lambert for 3 years. They were fighting, and it was inevitable that they were eventually going to go down. You can't keep fighting it for so long, keep getting away with it for so long.
So, what do you make of ticket prices at Villa? Because obviously, I know we said that Villa fell out and that, and but I think for the football that the players, that the fans are watching at the moment, I think that it should be maybe a fiver for kids, tenner for an adult. Pat the ground down, stop ripping your fans off. To be honest, until you start winning things and playing some good, attractive football. And that's not just Aston Villa, by the way. I saw that about a lot of clubs nowadays. You saw it at Liverpool a couple of weeks ago, had a walkout.
I think they should reduce ticket prices as an apology for fans to watch the rubbish that they've had to put up with this year. 2 wins at home is rubbish, and we've had a rubbish home record for about 3 years now. So them poor fans going down there, spending all that money, they should just drop the ticket prices dramatically as an apology to fans. But while people still go, it's never going to happen, is it? And that's the same at every football club. It's never going to happen, is it? Nobody's ever going to do it. It's going to take one brave club to actually do it for everybody then to try and follow in the same footsteps. But
yeah, I mean, people don't realise how serious it is. It actually is of just getting relegated. People are just like, oh yeah, they get relegated, they're going to be a Championship club, but they don't see like the bigger picture of it. Like you'll be missing out on the TV sponsors.
Yeah.
And you'll lose out on sponsors. The players will also take a wage cut because they're a Championship club now.
Yeah. This is the year with the TV. The new TV still starts. This is the year you needed to stay up. That money, they're going to miss that money. I know they get the parachute payments and stuff like that, but they're going to miss that money. And they've got, it's not just the players; it's the people who work for the club, like day to day, who just run work at the reception or work at the shop and do this. Those people might lose their jobs and stuff as well, because inevitably, when there's less money coming in, they may have to make some layoffs, and it might not just be the playing staff, but it may be like your admin staff and stuff like that. And it's a shame for those people. They've done absolutely nothing wrong. They're just working for the club, doing whatever behind the desk or at the shop and stuff, and they could end up losing their job because of this, and that's not fair, is it?
No, it's not. It's not fair at all. I'm going to put you in a difficult position now. You are the Aston Villa manager. You've taken over in the summer. Are you going to say you can fuck off because you're an absolute bag of shit, or are you going to say, right, you fucking got us into this fucking mess, so you were going to start this fucking football club and you were going to give these fans what they pay for, and you were going to get us back in the Premier League where we belong?
Certain players I would, but not all of them. That Gabby I'd get rid of. He's no good. Guzan I'd get rid of. I think Richards thinks he's better than what he probably is, so I'd get rid of him. Lescott, no, get rid of him. Hutton I'd probably keep. That Ganay, I think he could be a decent player. I'd probably keep him. Obviously, Gill is a decent. I think he's got the makings of a decent player. I'd keep him. AU, I think he's got the makings of a decent player. I'd probably try and keep him. And Gestead would score you 15 goals easily in that league, so I'd probably keep him as well. The rest of them I'd just get rid of quite easily and just try and build a team around those sort of people. Really, the defence, we definitely need 2 new centre halves. Midfield needs looking at, and another striker to sort of help with the backup. So yeah, I'd keep those few people. The rest I'd get rid of and get some new players in who have done it at that level for a few years and know what it's like to play at that level. It's a tough league.
Well, you say get rid of them, but it's finding who wants them.
Exactly, that's the thing. Who's going to want them, and you're going to end up taking less money because they're not worth as much. So that's the thing. You might end up getting stuck with them anyway. You might be in a position where they don't want to go or nobody wants them, and you're stuck with them, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously know more than me. I think the biggest mistake you made this year was selling Van Blar.
Yeah, definitely. They let him go, and they never replaced Tom Cleverley. They never replaced Delph, and they never replaced Ben Tenke. So that's the spine of your team there that they've let go, which they've not replaced. So how can you sort of cope when you resold the spine of your team there?
So you should have kept Benteke, because to me he's absolute shit at Liverpool. Sorry.
He's done nothing for Liverpool, absolutely nothing. And the way Klopp is looking at it, I think he'll be gone in the summer himself. You know, Benteke's done absolutely nothing there. He was, he's gone to Liverpool and he's like, he's just a normal player there, isn't he? Whereas at the Villa, he was a star attraction. He was the main man, and everybody looked to him, and he played every game. He wanted to do well. Whereas Liverpool, he's just another name on the team sheet, isn't he? They've got a lot of star quality there, and he's just another name really there, and it hasn't worked out for one reason or another. The Villa played to his strengths, and Liverpool aren't playing to his strengths, and it's a Brendan Rodgers buy, and Klopp don't like him, does he? So I think he'll be gone.
Well, we're gonna wrap this up in a minute, folks. I'm going to ask you two last questions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll say three. Who would your manager be for the championship, and how much roughly do you think you'd need to spend to have at least a chance of promotion?
There's a few names that have been touted. Steve Bruce has been touted, and Nigel Pearson. Out of the two, I'd probably say Nigel Pearson. Really, I think although Steve Bruce is a good manager at that level, as soon as the results started to turn or they didn't start playing well, then the fans would turn on the manager straight away because of the Blues connection. So we've had McLeish and that didn't work, so I wouldn't like to see us do that again. I think Nigel Pearson would do a decent job, and I think they need to probably spend 40 million to try and get out of trouble. But whether they're going to get that sort of money to spend, I doubt it.
Yeah, I wouldn't go Steve Bruce at all, to be honest. I think Steve Bruce, like you say, which is good for you, because he's good at getting teams promoted, but I don't think that's it for me.
Yeah, he can't keep a team in the Premiership. Hull went down, the Blues went down, Sunderland sacked him, so he can't keep a team in the Premier League. He's good at getting them up there, but he's not good at keeping them there.
He didn't do that good at Wigan either.
No, yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. So,
yeah, you're right. I think you've been linked with Tony Pulis. Horrible man. I can't stand it. But you've been linked.
I can't imagine him coming, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. But again, he's another one that'll be good at getting you out of that league. But probably that's about it, really.
And I'm going to ask you another difficult question. How many points do you think you'll get next season in the Championship?
I'd say 55, which is probably like a mid-table, I guess.
Yeah, as I said, but probably about 13, 12, something like
yeah, 55 points.
So, is there anything else that you want to say? Jumping now, otherwise I think we're pretty much.
No, I just think I've covered everything off. Really, it's just a shame for our club. Like you said, we were a good club, successful club over the years, and it's a shame to see them go down. And fingers crossed they can get something right in the summer and they can come back up. But if they don't come back up within the first or second year, I think you won't be seeing Villa in the Premier League for a long, long time. It could be 5 years, as I say. So
I think, this is bad, isn't it, really? But I think, let me just get me stat right. Yeah, you are 1,000 to 1 to actually beat the drop.
that's never going to happen. Exactly.
It's a bit upsetting to hear, isn't it? Really.
It is very upsetting. So.
Right, guys, we've talked about Aston Villa. Where they've gone wrong, and where they need to improve. Whether they do, it's another story for another day and another rant. But until then, my thanks to Dan, who again has given up his time at very short notice.
No, thank you. At any time, I'm happy to come on. I enjoy doing these. So anytime we'll talk about any topics you want. Tweet in what your next topic is, and we'll talk about it really. And we're happy to talk about anything. Any football club, we'll have our opinions on whether we're right or wrong. Who knows? But tweet us in, and we'll try and talk about another topic for you.
Yeah, I mean, and Dan's right as well. I mean, it is just our opinions. I mean, there's no need for nasty tweets calling us deluded. Or listen, we don't work for Sky. We don't work for Match of the Day. We're not professional pundits or anything like that. It's just a passionate football fan, another passionate football fan, just giving their opinions on football. Because we don't want the abuse.
That's it.
If you don't respect our opinions, that's fine. We don't ask you to do that. But
exactly, I'm not slagging anybody off. This is just my view. If you don't agree with it, that's fine. You know, you can have your view. Tweet us in and just have your view, have your say. But please don't sort of slag us off or anything. We're just having our own opinions. And like you said, we're happy to talk about any other club in the country. You know, it's not just Arsenal and Villa. I'll talk about anybody and have my opinion, whether you agree with it or not. I'll talk about anything. So thank you again.
yes, yeah, that's what this channel's all about. You know, we do Premier League prediction videos, so we have to talk about every team gets a turn. And it was kind of my way of saying thanks to Dan. So it was his team's turn today.
No, thank you, anytime.
So I don't think we'll be doing one for quite a while now. As it's an international break and it's very boring. So nothing to talk about at the moment.
No.
Don't really think we want to bore people to tears about talking about England because you all know we're going to do nothing in the Euros anyway. So.
Yeah, that's another conversation. All
right then, guys. Thanks for watching this video, and I will see you next Friday for a predictions video. But until then, thank you for watching, guys, and my thanks.
Thank you. Cheers. Thanks. Bye.